have a very pristine and privileged guest of Chatterbox Sports, Nick Kirby. Nick has been on the grind for Cincinnati Reds content for quite some time. For those that think perhaps that obviously you're too optimistic than you are sometimes, what would you say about that? Explain to the folks how long you've been following the team, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, so thanks for having me. Awesome studio. Appreciate you guys. I've been covering the Reds since, I guess, 2013, writing for Red Leg Nation. Started a podcast with a couple of my friends last year. So I've been following the team for a long time. I've been a fan, just as long as everyone else and through the ups and downs. I think right now, I think the Reds have such a strong farm system. I think it's probably the strongest it's been since maybe like 2008, 2009, which preceded obviously the only really great Reds run in my lifetime of 2010 to 2012. So that in itself really, I think, lends me to be a lot more positive. I get the frustrations. I've watched it. I've felt it too. But I think what they're doing right now gives the Reds the best chance of not only being good for 1 or 2 years, but really sustaining some success like teams like Cleveland and Tampa Bay that have done it with a much smaller payroll than Cincinnati.
So when you have guys like, not myself really personally, but you have guys in the chat that'll say, or really in Reds fandom, that'll say we've heard the story before. We've been told that there's rebuilds. We've been told that just wait a couple more years and that's going to happen. And that's really been the story, or that's been what we've been fed or told since 2000 and probably 15, somewhere in there. We sit in 2022, and now why is it different? Do you really think that they've actually why hasn't there been a rebuild in that time frame in your opinion? And then secondarily to that, why is it different now?
Well, the biggest difference between now and 2015 is I think the Reds traded most of their players at their peak value. They didn't wait. Like, the Reds waited way too long to trade Johnny Cueto. They held on to guys like Jay Bruce and Billy Hamilton to where they had no value left really by the time they left. The players that the Reds got back for Luis Castillo, that kind of deal was a deal where it hurt Seattle. It really hurt them to make that deal. Now, it might be great for them in the short term, and it might actually end up being a good thing for them overall based on where they are. But I think selling at the right time is the biggest difference to me. And that's when you see teams that are successful with lower payrolls, they make these cutthroat moves. Now, it may not be exciting for the fan base. I actually live in Cleveland. Sometimes there's a lot of fans up there that are, not as into the team because of the way they do things, but it works. It wins. They were a win away from the ALCS this year with a payroll that was, I think, about a third of the Reds. So that's where I see it.
What's the narrative? What's your pushback, or what about the thoughts on this? Is I've pushed back on the notion that the Castellinis don't spend any money. The ownership group hasn't really ever tried to win, but I think that there's some merit to win. And again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't followed the team as closely as you. I don't know if it was Dick Williams perhaps, or maybe it was Nick Kroll. I don't know if it was or wasn't. But when they did go and get a Moustakas, they did go get a Castellanos, they did go get a Bauer, right? They went out and tried to win, and COVID hit, which made things ultimately a little weird. They even went out and got the Akiyama, like him or not, but they went out and they got him. Is that fair or not fair? Do you think that the pushback should be a little less when it comes to we don't want to spend any money versus they've just not made the right moves?
I think every team in baseball could spend more money. So I guess if you want to single out the team that you root for, you can. I think that just like everyone could. So I don't think spending is the problem. I think the issue has been not making the right moves, holding on to players too long. I always get myself caught in 2020 because it's so what if. If that team wins the World Series, we're not sitting here complaining about it, right? I mean, and that team legitimately, I think, had a chance to win the World Series if you have a full season with that starting rotation that they had. I don't know. I feel like the Mike Moustakas signing right now, it feels like that was very we're rushing to be competitive and not being patient enough like we should. I think it's a good learning experience. I also don't necessarily feel like it's fair for me to go back and criticize them because I wasn't criticizing them when they signed Mike Moustakas. So that's not fair of me to do. But I think in the future, the Reds should be very, very careful about what players they are extending into their mid to late 30s. So you're not stuck with another Mike Moustakas because, quite frankly, now Joey Votto is a whole different subject, and he's already earned every penny of his contract. But the Reds have almost $50 million in Moustakas and Votto in 2023, and just think of how much more they could do with that money. So I think that there's a lot of a learning experience with this with the Reds, where they've got to be very, very careful about who they give the money out to. And I think that it seems like the way that they're looking at building the team follows more of that Tampa-Cleveland model. But the Reds have a little bit more money to spend. So if they do it right, it's a big if, I think they could do it better.
So, in your opinion, it comes down to just basically making decisions when it comes to personnel matter. It's not so much as a payroll issue, in your opinion.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue in the Castellini ownership is that they've meddled at times. Was that they didn't want to trade Johnny Cueto before the All-Star game. That they didn't want to get rid of Billy Hamilton because he was a fan favorite. So far, knock on wood, it seems like they have stepped away and let Nick Krall do his thing. I've never seen the fan base more toxic towards the Reds than on opening day in the following weeks. And they still went and traded Luis Castillo at the deadline. They still went and traded Tyler Mahle at the deadline.
But they sign a guy like Mike Minor a week later, and you got to ask yourself, Nick, like, what's the point of that?
Well, that's the big difference in that is that's a one-year deal. That's not a deal that's going to hurt them long term. It's a deal, yeah, he stunk, but it was just a filler deal. That's not going to sink them in the years ahead. Me personally, I would rather the Reds overpay on short contracts like Mike Minor or whoever else than a 4-year deal where the last 2 years of like a Mike Moustakas deal hurts you. I'd rather them overpay on the short-term deals, look to extend the younger players, and I think that is a model that fits the Reds better. But ultimately, they have to draft and develop and all those things, or everything else is really pointless, no matter what they do.
The only concern that maybe myself and others in the chat and also others in Reds fandom would have is this: is if Nick Krall has the keys to the castle, if he genuinely doesn't have anyone standing over his shoulder and saying, you got to do this and this and this because Bob or Phil said so, I do question his thought promise or his thought process with Mike Minor, because Mike Minor isn't a guy that's going to put you over any kind of hump, Nick. He's not a guy that's going to make you, for whatever reason, be competitive throughout a full sustainable year. And yes, it's only a 1-year deal, and yes, maybe you could say it's only $10 million. But maybe this isn't how the world works. But at the end of the day, I think you could save that money. If you're going to spend $10 million on Mike Minor, let's just save that $10 million and put it in the rainy day fund and go out and get $10 million more somewhere else. Now, you could sit there and you could argue, Trace, you're saying that after Mike Minor did absolutely nothing and was terrible. But I think you could reasonably agree that Mike Minor was never a guy that's like, oh, we just got Randy Johnson. We're gonna go out there every 5 days and get over the hump and be in the playoffs. So it's almost like that's my only fear, is that I guess I can't kill him for just one deal. But at the end of the day, if he's truly going to go through a rebuild, then he's doing a little meddling with the Mike Minor deal.
So 2 points on that. So first, I absolutely agree. I wish they could just save that $10 million and have Connor Overton, whoever else, take their spot in the rotation. But I don't think most major league teams save money for the future. And that's a whole nother thing, but I don't really know of any other teams that do that rainy day fund. It's usually a budget, we spend it, and that's it. So if that's, I'm assuming that's kind of what Nick Krall's under. This is your budget, you spend it or you lose it. So if that's the case, then okay, so you're just trying to fill out a spot. The other thing to consider is I don't think the Reds expected that they were going to get as many innings out of Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, and Graham Ashcraft as they did. So I think that was more of the move for Mike Minor is you don't want to be – how many times have we seen guys get called up that are absolutely not ready for the big leagues, make starts, and it's just – it's so ugly.
A lot in this town.
Yeah, but Mike Minor, as bad as he was, at least all right, I'm going to throw him out there. He's going to give me 4 or 5 innings. He's not going to be like the guy the Reds called up at the end of 2021 that they cut a couple weeks later that couldn't get out of the second inning because he walked 6 guys. I think that is more of just you want a veteran guy to fill that spot that's going to, and everyone hates the term eat the innings, but that's kind of what he was. Again, I understand the pushback. I'm not going to sit here and defend the Mike Minor signing, but I don't think that is really something that moves the needle much one way or the other towards the future.
What's cool and fun with you is that you genuinely, this isn't a shtick. This isn't I want to do this because I need to be on the good side of people that can help me down the road. You genuinely are optimistic about the Reds. You think that the Reds are in a better position than they ever have been in the recent times that you've been following them. Outside of, yes, in 2012 and the year in which they were good, right? But outside of that, you think that they're in the best position. As a follow-up to that, I'll ask you a question, and then you can expand upon why you're so optimistic. Does Nick Krall trade a guy like Scooter Gennett? Do you think that they are not meddling anymore in that aspect? Because I think that there's only one reason why you wouldn't trade a guy like that, and that's just because you think the fans care.
That's a tough one. Scooter Gennett, yeah, I mean, the other part of that is how much value did Scooter Gennett ever have?
Well, he had to have something when he had the back-to-back or 1 year. Like, we seem to hold on to guys that we take a flyer on, they do really well, and then it's like, okay, let's just assume this is going to continue to happen because we found something that other people didn't. And it goes back to what Tom said the other day, like the back of the bubblegum card or the back of the baseball card type thing. Like, Zach Cozart was Zach Cozart. Yeah, he had one good year, but like at the end of the day, he is who he is. Scooter Gennett is who he is, right? Like, we bring these guys in, and we have some fortune where they hit in a hitter's ballpark. The Reds have never used that to our advantage. We never have brought a guy in, let him be very successful in our ballpark, and then trade him away because we know we have more value than maybe others perceive. To your point, I don't know what the deals they were getting, but I know this: they weren't getting nothing at the end of when they actually did get rid of him.
Yeah, he's tough as he got hurt in 2019, so who really knows what the plans? They did do that with Brandon Drury this year, though.
Yes.
So, again, hopefully that's a sign. Brandon Drury, I think they got their 14th best prospect back for Brandon Drury, but Brandon Drury is a guy you picked up for literally nothing, and you flipped him. So, yes, that's what they should be doing going forward. It's hard to know with Scooter Gennett. I just don't know how much value he had because I think he was towards the end of his arbitration. He was actually a little bit more expensive than I think people thought when he was with the Reds, if you kind of look through the contracts. So, again, it always takes 2 to tango. Just because we have a player that we go, yeah, other GMs also know that, hey, this guy's probably going to come back down to earth. So that's why, a lot of times you have to trade the players that hurt you. Like, trading Scooter Gennett wouldn't have really hurt us long term, I don't think, at least the reasonable people. Trading Luis Castillo hurts. Trading Tyler Mahle hurts. But those are the deals that give you the players that can be the potential superstars and that you can build around that aren't going to be costing you a lot of money, and then you can go out and sign some other free agents to kind of fill the gaps.
So for my fandom and for most that are our age that really got into following the Reds in the mid 2000s, if you will, maybe late 2000s, all the prospects, quite frankly, that were coming up have always mostly been, and I'm talking about the elite prospects, have always been arms for the most part. Nick Senzel, you could say that he was supposed to be a guy, and you could say that Billy Hamilton was this guy that was supposed to come in and steal first base, and he never figured out how to steal first base. But we actually, I feel like maybe at this point, and you correct me if I'm wrong, this is more of a question than a hot conversation, is like Ellie De La Cruz, the Mortel guy, or Morte, how do you say his kid? Marte. The Marte that came over in the deal that you're talking about. You keep referencing how it hurt to get rid of Luis Castillo. Are we in a better position to finally see some real position players that, quite frankly, are everyday players that could be stars in this league? Or do you feel like we're still in this flux of we don't know what we're going to get, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't? It might be like a Nick Senzel deal where Ellie De La Cruz comes up and he's just not that guy.
I think it's going to be maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But the good thing is the Reds have 6 of those guys right now. You could add in Matt McClain. You could add in Edwin Arroyo as well. Prospects aren't always going to pan out. That's why you need to stockpile them, which is what the Reds have been doing the last, I think year plus. So
Matt McClain's out of UCLA, I believe, was a first-round pick.
Yeah. There's another guy I really like that's farther down is Christian Encarnacion Strand. Had about the same offensive numbers at AA as Ellie De La Cruz, but he's more of a first base DH type, which is why he doesn't get as much publicity in the rankings. But that guy can hit. So the Reds, I think, have like 6 of those guys. If 3 of those pan out, well, all of a sudden you have a pretty decent lineup of young players, and then you can fill around, and then you still have Tyler Stevenson, Jonathan India. Jonathan India, guy I think should be moved off of second base sooner rather than later, but that's a whole different.
Where's he going to go?
Left field or DH or first base, anywhere but second base. He's been just as bad as it gets. And I'm a positive guy. If I say he's as bad as it gets at second base, he's as bad as it gets.
Defensively, obviously.
Defensively, using all the fielding metrics. I think the sooner they move him, the better, because you have so many other prospects that are going to be significantly better defensive players. And I think it's better to move him now than to have a situation where you're moving him for a prospect later.
Everyone in the chat and everyone in Reds fandom obviously wants to know the 100% answer to this, and we're never going to know it. When's the year? What? All of these are stockpiled. Yes, I hear you, Nick. It's great. We got 6 guys that could possibly play shortstop. We got 7 guys that could be our second baseman. We got, we do have Hunter Green. We have De La Dola. We've seen those guys, and they have produced, right? But it's never a guarantee. You're an arm injury away from somebody always being, and I don't think you could think that way or feel that way or live in that environment of, something's always going to go wrong. But if push came to shove, the Reds win more than 90 games in this year. What year is that?
90, I'd probably say like 2025. I would say that
playoffs.
Playoffs, I think, are there's a realistic chance that the Reds can make the playoffs in 2024.
So we're one probably. How bad is it going to be this next year?
It's so hard to give you an answer.
Is there any hope?
I could see the Reds winning 60 games. I could see the Reds winning 80 games.
What's a great year?
What's a great year would be getting close to 500, which gets you not that far away from the playoffs with as many teams that get in as now. There's so many unknowns because at some point I think next year you're going to see Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McClain, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Brandon Williamson, several others. How are they going to do right off the bat? Is Ellie De La Cruz going to take off like Fernando Tatis?
Right.
I have no idea.
He certainly looks like it.
Yeah, but you don't know till you get there. So there's so much up in the air. And then again in 2024, Reds are going to have a lot of money off the books. Literally over half their payroll is going to be off the books. They're going to have so much money to spend. So hopefully, the best case scenario for the Reds in 2023 is that they know exactly what they need in 2024. So the worst case scenario is you get to the end of the year and you're like, well, maybe that guy fills that spot. Maybe you want okay, De La Cruz, your shortstop. This guy hasn't panned out here. That's what you want is to have more definitive and not be up in the air to know exactly what you need.
So it's safe to say we do see De La Cruz at the big league level.
I'd put the over under at June.
Okay, so you think we will see him?
I would be shocked if you do not see Ellie De La Cruz, barring injury.
Matt McClain?
I think Matt McClain has a chance to be on the opening day roster.
Okay.
He was in college.
Yeah, he's an older guy.
What more do you need to see out of him?
Right.
Ellie De La Cruz is the guy you don't want to screw up when you call him up. You're not really worried as much about Matt McClain. If he, you can just throw him out there. And every interview I've heard from the Reds guys with McClain has been that they're pushing him. Christian Encarnacion Strand, the other guy I mentioned, I think he has an outside chance of making the opening day roster. I think he's another guy that'll be close. Marte, maybe not. Maybe a September call up. I think he's a little farther.
You got me a little excited. Here's why I'm excited, because we at least get to see something next year. It's not just like the same old guys we've seen time and time again, and you've heard me joke about this off air. If I have to see Aristides Aquino play one more game in a Reds uniform, I literally will be done. And now I know.
He's in Japan.
I know he's in Japan, but I'm not ruling it out. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just not.
One injury to Jake Fraley, and he's
there's a chance they call that guy. He gets back on a boat, and that dude is here for opening day playing right field for the Reds because he hit 19 home runs in the first month he came up, and he throws guys out from the warning track. Outside of that, I don't know what the guy's worth. Not worth a damn thing. And finally, we figured that out, and he's in Japan, but I'm not too sure about that. It's like always, I'm always looking. He's like the boogeyman. I'm always looking over my shoulder, looking out for Aquino. No disrespect to Aquino. Hope he has a happy holiday. That said, at least we get to see some of these guys. So we're going to see Matt McLain more than likely. We're going to see probably Ellie De La Cruz. You hope Stevenson stays healthy, right? If he doesn't stay healthy, then you have this question of what do you do with the whole position situation, so we can at least get some clarity on that. Do you think David Bell has anything to prove this year? Do you think that he possibly could be on a hot seat? Should he be on a hot seat? Where do we go from here?
David Bell's never got a fair chance. I mean, you can like him or dislike him. He's never had a fair chance because he's never really.
Well, he had a decent team. Yeah,
a 60-game season.
Okay.
And they still made the playoffs. So I don't know.
He's not a very good. I'll tell
they
you.
overachieved in 2021.
Okay. I would say this. He's not a very good rally hat guy. He's not a good mojo guy. He can't figure out how to score a run in like 25 innings over there. It's a joke. I mean, he's got to move the bats or something, man.
I'm a David Bell guy.
That's a joke, everybody.
I support him, but I also don't feel any affinity towards him to where he's 100% the guy. Yeah. For him, it's going to be managing all these kids coming up. How does he do that? If he does that well, then yeah, I mean, I think he deserves to stay. I think it's more about getting the most out of your players at this point. The one thing I have always liked about David Bell is that he's always extremely prepared for every game. Whether you like the moves or not, it feels like, for the most part, every move that he made is well thought out. And that, to me, has always been the thing that I've wanted out of a manager, is a manager that is really dissecting every single move that he makes and weighing all the options and using all the data and all that type of stuff.
That's fair. I think the pushback I would have on some of that, and we'll see. Maybe he hasn't gotten a fair chance. I just wonder what analytics he's giving to a guy like not Edwin Encarnacion. My gosh, I'm going way back. Why is my Eugenio Suarez? But a guy like Eugenio Suarez, man, he needs a break. I mean, the guy had one hit in the last 4 weeks. You can't just keep running the guy out there. Those are the things that I just question sometimes because from an outsider's perspective looking in, he seems like at times he can be a pushover. He seems like at times he doesn't want to have a definitive answer in the press conference on why he did what he did. It's always kind of like, we're working really hard to figure it out, and I believe in this group. That's what we get out of him. And maybe that's not fair as an outsider perspective, but sometimes I'd like to see a manager take onus on why he's making decisions and not just always kind of skirt around whatever decision he made. Is that fair or not fair? You've watched him long enough.
I've watched a lot of David Bell press conferences. He's very careful he is extremely careful that he doesn't say anything that's going to upset his players. And you can hate that mindset. Sometimes I kind of wish he would be a little more fiery in those. But that's his philosophy. The players love David Bell. Has anyone ever heard a player say a bad word about David Bell?
I wouldn't hate David Bell either if I had one hit in 5 weeks and I haven't played and I keep playing. I think we should start asking the guys that are at the very low totem pole of the roster that haven't got a chance to hit. We should go ask Akiyama how much he likes David Bell. I know that's not fair, but maybe it is. I mean, I'm wishy-washy on David Bell at best. I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that he didn't get a fair chance, but I think that at times you create a culture within a clubhouse. You are the leader, and I think oftentimes the concern I have for the Reds more or less is that it becomes more or less a me thing. I got to prove myself, and that's all I care about. Tommy Pham says it openly and publicly, and there's nothing that's even said about it. No one even cares that Tommy Pham just standing out there with the press says, I don't give a rat about this season. This is about me proving myself and how I can present myself later in the year to be a trade piece, right? Or be a guy. That is That is a ridiculous statement to make, and then still go out and play every day. Now, maybe it's not fair to have to say, you know what, Tommy, you're going to sit for the next 2 weeks because that's not how this is going to go. But I'd like to think that that's what it could possibly be. And I think David Bell just is like, he didn't mean a whole lot by that. It's not a big deal.
Does David Bell actually get a say if Tommy Pham plays or not?
That's the next problem then. Who does? Who's at the end of the day the real manager?
I think a lot more of these moves are made at the front office level than we think. I think David Bell has some flexibility. I don't think it's Dave, here's your game plan, David. He has a sheet and he just goes down. Okay, next move.
Right.
I don't think it's that intense, but I do think that most of that comes from the front office. But you pay a guy $7 million. He is a trade piece. You do have to play him.
We have a chat question. The question is and I want to hear your opinion on this before I give mine. Why do the Reds bring in so many shortstops and try to convert them into other positions? One would argue it hasn't worked.
I mean, I think if you play shortstop, you can play anywhere else. The problem that the Reds have had is they've had too many guys that have to play first base or left field. The Reds have been a terrible defensive team since 2019. I think was the last team that was pretty good with Jose Iglesias, and some of the other guys around that. I think Ayo Suarez was still a pretty good defensive player at third base then.
Yep.
But the Reds have been at the absolute bottom of baseball and defense. And who's the gold standard in the NL Central? The St. Louis Cardinals. Every year they're right at the top. So I think bringing in so many shortstops is going to help the Reds significantly at least improve that, because you have a shortstop playing shortstop, third base, second base, center field maybe. You're going to have a lot of good defensive players. And I think that was what cost the Reds in 2021 more than anything else was their defense. And they were a couple games away from the playoffs, but they were 28th in any of the defensive metrics you look at.
One would argue their bullpen didn't help. No? I mean,
yeah, their bullpen was pretty bad.
Yeah, and that's my point. Let's go in the rainy day fund right there, Nick, and pull out that $10 million and go and spend it. Now, they did go get it. They got, I think it was Sessa at the time, right?
Yeah, they were pretty decent in the second half.
They did a decent job of getting some guys that were actually pretty good for the money that they got, or the value they got in return on the trade. But the problem is MLB is in a situation where the Reds are in a situation where if you can make the playoffs, I'm not saying you sell the farm to try to get in the playoffs, but we have to realize that there's a very, very, very small likelihood that we're going to enter the playoffs as the 1 seed or as one of the top seeds in the playoffs. But I don't think we should really worry about that as much as let's just get in the playoffs and have a chance to win, because it's been proven time and time and time again. If you get into the Major League Baseball playoffs, it's not a complete crapshoot, but let the Dodgers prove exactly what the MLB playoffs can be. You can be by and far the best team in the National League and then go lose a 3-game series.
The Reds won 97 games in 2012 and lost a 5-game series.
We don't have to talk about that.
But
yeah.
The problem is absolutely 100%. It's not that the Reds haven't won a World Series since 1990. It's that they've only been to the postseason, 5 times since 1990? Yeah. That's the problem.
Right. Boom Shakalaka says, how long does Stevenson catch? I don't know how long we keep talking this. You guys want to talk Reds? We're going to have Nick on more, I guess. You guys like the Reds talk. We've talked about this offline. I think we have differing opinions on this. We won't get into this too heavily right now. I'm of the mindset that I think Stevenson is a generational type of hitter. I think that he could hit in the major league level for the next 15 years at a high level. I think that he could be very similar to maybe not Joey Votto-esque, because I am very high on Joey, but I do think that he could be plus on OPS for the next 10 years when it comes to being in an everyday lineup. Having said that, I know where your opinion is, and I'm going to let you share it. I think he should move because it's proven to me that he can't withstand a full season. And I don't want to lose this guy because he's, Devin Mesoraco I think that's a slight on Stevenson of saying it. But if you get hurt all the time, you never know when you come back if you're still the same player. We don't know. We can say what we want. We don't know if Stevenson is going to be the same guy he was before he got hurt the last time. And at some point, every time he gets hurt, that answer might be different. And I'd rather just eliminate that. And maybe when you go to first base, or maybe if you're a DH, it's not 100%. It doesn't mean you can't get hurt. Joey Votto's been hurt before. He plays first base. But you certainly eliminate some risk. So that's my opinion. Nick has a different one, which is good. Your opinion is what?
I think Tyler Stevenson is an elite hitting catcher and about an average hitting first baseman. I don't think he has enough power to warrant moving him off of catcher and risking that incredible upside you have. Tyler Stevenson could be the best hitting catcher or the top 3 hitting catchers in baseball. First baseman hit a lot better than league average. It's the easiest position to play defensively. So if you go look at the free agent contracts of players who've signed at first base, you look at their numbers, you look at Tyler Stevenson's numbers. Well, the guy's only making $5 million to play first base, and his offensive numbers actually are pretty close to Tyler Stevenson. I think that's a good risk. It's a risk. I think it's a good risk for the Reds to try to keep his catcher. And I also think it's gonna tick off Tyler Stevenson if you move him from catcher. If you've heard some of the interviews he's done this weekend, he wants to be a catcher. The guy caught 300 and something games, I think, in the minor leagues as a catcher. Moving him now is going to really tick off your best offensive player, I think.
Well, he's been the best offensive player, yes.
You're going to take him off. You're going to cost him a lot of money in arbitration and free agent contracts if he's not a catcher, so he's not going to like that. I think you need to ride it out at least one more year. And again, this is assuming that the doctors are saying he's clear to catch. It's not going to hurt him long term. If they're saying that it's in a really bad interest for his health and his well-being, then absolutely you need to move him. I'm on the assumption, because everything I've heard is that that's not the case. If that's the case, it's a totally different conversation.
You make a strong argument. You make a very good argument, only from this standpoint. If you want to have Tyler Stevenson here long term, more than likely he's got to like it here. He's not going to sign a free agent contract, or he's not going to sign a contract extension if he doesn't want to be here, especially if he doesn't want to play first base. So if that's the sentiments, and you know better than most, if not all, you think Tyler Stevenson wants to catch, he's made it known that he wants to catch, and if he does want to catch, then I'm not going to be the guy that tells him he can't catch. I will say this. If something else happens, then there needs to be a conversation with Tyler, and maybe at some point you realize, yeah, maybe mom and dad were right type thing. Now, I'm not trying to compare the two, but Tyler Stevenson at least gets the benefit of the doubt currently to let him try again if he wants to. I am very concerned for him, though. I'm more concerned not because of his health, which is probably what I should be more concerned about. I'm more concerned about that I like him that much as a hitter. I don't want to lose him. Like, I watch him hit, and it's immediately, this guy's a professional hitter. It's not even just that his stats are his stats. When you watch the games, and this is the stuff where I'm not saying you need to be a huge baseball guy maybe to see it, but I like to think that I am. He just grinds out at bats. He reminds me of a Scott Rowland type of player where it's not an easy out. You know, you're not going to see him go up there, flail at the first pitch, and it's just a pop out, and that's the end of the at bat. He's done it time and time again, and in fact, every time he's been in clutch situations, has runners in scoring positions with the game on the line. I don't know if the stats will back me up or not, and maybe this is just my perception and my feelings. He has done an unbelievable job of coming through in the clutch when it matters the most. And you don't find that every day. So I just hate to lose that for some idiot to run through him and bust his head up again at home plate.
Yeah, no, the moment he stepped on the field in 2020 and he got a few at-bats at the end of that year, you could just tell there was something different about him as a hitter. Absolutely. I'm not a big clutch guy. I think we overrate clutch situations, but he has proven that he can hit in those situations. And like you said, the great point, every at-bat that he goes up there is a quality at-bat. He is grinding out the at-bats. I like to see him maybe walk a little bit more. I think he could improve upon that, but he's a tough out. He's a guy that's got to be annoying as a pitcher to face because I'm not going to be able to throw 3 breaking balls and get him out. I'm going to really have to work to get Tyler Stevenson out.
Are you allowed to go to lunch? What's your schedule like? You're going.
I'm clear for lunch. I'm not going to Reds Fest today. I'm only doing one day tomorrow. So okay. Yeah, I'm clear for lunch.
For a guy going to Reds Fest, we'll end it at this, and we're going to do the wheel of lunch next. What are you looking forward to the most at Reds Fest, which is something I think a lot of people are down about? As a PR, put your PR hat on. Not to speak for the Reds, but why go down there?
I mean, I drove like 5 hours to come down.
Well, you're a different kind of guy, Nick. First of all, you got to realize.
Like me watching Cincinnati and Bryant instead of the NFL.
Let's be honest. Nick is incredibly dedicated to this franchise. He has been on the beat or whatever you want to call it, on the grind, watching the moves they've made when they've been absolutely horrific, terrible. So if nothing else, outside of my fandom, I hope one day you get to live in the glory of the work that you've put into this. I think that's going to happen. But I'll also say, you're optimistic and a positive guy. Why are you going down to Reds Fest?
Well, I'm taking my kids. I want my kids to get a picture with Ellie De La Cruz. That's my entire goal while I'm down there.
Okay.
Because that could age very, very well and be a cool moment for them. So that to me is kind of, like, I think, the most exciting thing I'm looking forward to. I've heard there's some I'm excited to get to be there, and I'm excited to get to meet a lot of people. Twitter can be a dumpster fire, but I've met so many of, like, my best friends, like guys like Paul, through Twitter. And so
You don't want to hang out with Paul.
This is Nick and I have known each other for years, and this is the first time we've ever met in person.
Really?
Yeah. We've been at Xavier games. We've just never crossed paths. We've talked. We've texted for years. We've tweeted for years. I've never met him in person until right now.
So I'm excited to get to
We've
see a lot of
podcasted
people. Yeah.
together. We've
Twitter
done
Spaces, yeah.
Twitter Spaces for years. Everything. I've never met him in person until right now.
Dude, this is like Match.com at
I know.
Chatterbox Sports.
I know.
See, I'm excited to get to see a lot of people that I haven't got to meet in person that I've kind of just become friends with about just other people who follow the Reds as silly as I do. So I'm excited about that, and excited, for my kids to get to experience some of that, and yeah.
Maybe I go down there. Take my kids down there.
It is fun.
I used to love Reds Fest. I'm a Reds homer through and through. If the truth is that it's Georgia football and the Reds, and it's just right there. The hard part is that when somebody breaks your heart all the time, and you keep taking this girl to the dance, and at the end of the dance, every single time they leave you for somebody else, it's hard to keep picking that girl up and taking her to the dance. And but I'm a sucker. I'm like the guy that just keeps on coming back, and I'll pick her up again, and we'll watch Matt McLean and Ellie De La Cruz and maybe the 75-win Reds next year, maybe 80. I know I keep doing this. Wheel of Lunch is 100% after this question. The Reds over and under is this, and I take the over 100%. If I see the Reds over under at this number, I guarantee you, well, guarantee is a strong word. I feel really good about the Reds winning more than that number. That number is what?
They went 62 last year. I'm gonna say if there's a 6 in the first digit, take the over.
Okay.
If there's a 6.
So you're saying 69, 100% take the owner.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Heard it here from Nick first. All right, Nick, we got something special today. We got a wheel. We usually do the wheel lunch. I know that
are we
you've
not
seen
getting
this
a raise?
from time to time.
Are we not getting a raise?
Yes, we are. I'm glad you brought that up.
All right.
Okay.
And just so we're on the same page, because I'm assuming I know where you're going with this. This is not a shtick.
This is not a shtick. No.
Okay.
I want to know, though, Paul,
All right.
how much was it to go out to Allen Fieldhouse?
Gas was about $200
Okay.
round trip, so you split that.
Okay.
Ticket was about $200 a piece, maybe $150, depending on the game. I did Oklahoma. It's about $150 to sit up in the top.
Okay.
If you wanted a better game, it was closer to $200. Call it $160.
Okay.
So you're looking at a hotel then, maybe
How many people work at Chatterbox? 1, 2, 3, 4,
7?
5, 6, 7.
Dixon, 7.
Okay, 7. That's how many hotels? How many hotel rooms is that? 2, 4, 6.
How many cases you're bunking?
3. That's 3. That's 3.
Three.
4.
Four comfortable hotel rooms.
4. All right. So it's 4 rooms.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to do this math live on air.
I'm doing it.
I need it fast too.
Okay. Yeah. So call it hotel rooms 100. Average 2 nights of a hotel room is $180 because it'll be cheaper to do a hotel room going out. That's got to be a. Yeah. Say it's.
Come on.
Say you spend $400. Let's see. Okay. So you need 4 hotel rooms.
So
4.
$1,600 on hotel rooms.
Like I said, 7 rooms. I can't do that.
$1,600 on hotel rooms.
Okay,
You're looking at about a little less than $2,500.
$2,500
Yeah.
divided by how many people do we have?
7.
Okay.
Wow, so we're getting a raise and pay our way to go.
What's that number?
$357.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
All right. So we got let's comfortably say 400. Let's comfortably say 400 cuz got to eat somewhere in there.
I need to know by lunch.
Okay.
If you're opting into this deal or if you're opting out.
Okay.
Cuz there's a chance to lose theoretically your own money.
Okay.
Not really, but,
Okay.
$350, is that the number?
We'll call 400. Call 400.
$400. This is going to get expensive. This might put us under, Chat. We're going to go to Indiana. Somebody's got to go to Indiana.
Casey's going to be there tonight.
Okay. Might have to go to the bank and give Casey the money to do this.
Uh-oh.
What was the number again? $400. $400. So if you're willing to put up $300, I'm going to give you $100 off. If you're willing to put up $300, we're going to bet $300. Okay, you ready for it?
All right.
On
LSU.
nope.
No, I know where this is going.
I'm trying. I have to
Are
hit
you
this.
are you doing TCU or are you doing USC?
Yep. Who's USC playing again?
Utah.
We're going to do $300 on Utah
Money line?
money line.
Cuz I'm going to put this together right now. All right.
So $300 on Utah.
300.
Well,
$300 on Utah.
yeah. This is going to be a parlay.
Oh, he's doing a parlay. Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming.
I feel like that's all I need. That makes up our number.
I mean,
What's
that's
$300
plus
win
that's
us?
plus 125. So
What's
that
$300 win us?
$375.
Yeah, that's all. That's it.
$300 money line bet on Utah tonight against USC.
Correct. If that happens, listen. No, we're not. It's not on USC. It's on Utah. Don't get us.
Yeah.
mixed up. Don't
Utah.
get us confused.
You're right.
Paul.
No, you're right. Against USC.
If Utah hits, listen. If Utah hits, those winnings. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing.
Those winnings pay for our trip. If it doesn't hit and we lose $300, I will take you all on that trip. You can opt in or opt out. It's a simple thing. You either can.
UC game next year. If I'm going out in Fieldhouse, I want to watch UC play.
That's not the deal. He's opted out. You heard it here first. There's
So
one opt
hang
out.
on, let me get this straight. So it's plus 125. So we put the 300 down. We get 375.
Does Dixon's asking if it includes food and beer?
Wait, if it includes Coors Light, I might be.
No, you
No,
guys
no.
have got to
So-
buy your own food, man. I ain't paying for the.
So we would get $675.
Nick's allowed to come
Is that
too.
what I'm-
Yes, that would be our payout would be $675.
Okay.
You would win $375.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I was only gonna spend $200 at the casino tonight.
Here's my
No. Let me make this clear. Because some of you, listen. I'm not trying to put you in a bad spot financially or anything like that. I'm being genuinely serious when I say that. You would pay for your trip when we go. I'll cover the cost of the bet on the front end. I'll cover the $300 bet that's basically your portion of it at the casino tonight. So you're not spending any money tonight. You just have to plan accordingly. Because don't be telling me you don't have no money. When's this trip, Paul? February?
January or February, yeah.
Okay. Mid-January. and I'll be
Mid-January,
on.
probably.
It's up to you, boys. You're either in or you're out.
Well, hang on a second, because if one of us go, can we make?
We ever gonna get the lunch?
Because if I put all the
I
the money
need my
that you're giving
fettuccine.
me
Wait,
down, right? So that's what it was. What $2,500 or something like that, give or take, or $2,800, whatever.
What's that?
So you're gonna give one of us $2,800 to go down to the casino and make a one bet.
Pretty
on
much.
That? So that wouldn't
well-
cover, right?
Yeah.
Or am I,
Well,
am I
whatever people
wrong,
opt in.
or-
If I only got to take 2 people, then the bet's less.
That's true.
I just need to know if by lunch if we're in or out. That's the deal. That's the deal. I'm betting on the fact. Listen, this is a simple thing. I'm betting on the fact that Utah is going to smash USC tonight, which is 100% going to happen. And then it forces you guys to go on this trip because that was the bet.
Okay.
And you get to experience a bucket list thing. This is an unbelievable. I mean, what a great boss.
So
Or you can opt out and
I'm
be like Seho and be sitting here while his whole entire company's out in Lawrence, Kansas, is having a hell of a time, which is fine too. But to Seho's point, and I understand, don't want to do it. Maybe he wants to wait for UC. Maybe he doesn't want to spend $300 to go to Lawrence.
Okay, so to be perfectly honest, I just did the math because I was about to opt in. I can't do it. I don't have a single Saturday free till April. So I can't. I would love to because I was just about to opt in, and I'm not just saying that. But I can't. I can't do it. I don't have a single. I can't go to a game. The only Saturday I have.
Sick days?
The only Saturday I have free.
He's got soccer.
Well, no, I got the 2 Saturdays I have free. I have a women's game, and then
Can't
the
call
one.
it remotely?
The one Saturday I have all the way off is Kansas is out of town. They're at Oklahoma. Now, if you want to go to Norman,
No, we're not doing
we
that.
ain't doing that.
If it's not a Saturday,
I just pulled up Kansas' schedule. I can't get there this year. I can't get to Norman this year. Or to
they don't have any big Mondays.
Big Monday. Good question.
mean-
They have. Oh shit. Well, I'm not allowed to cuss.
Trying to limit that.
They
Kid show.
you know.
I got you.
Here's
I can tell that the wheels are turning a little too
Here-
much for you not to have a good answer.
Here's one, but this would raise the cost. Big Monday,
Yeah?
Texas. February 6th.
Well, we'd have to buy it now. Well, we'll have plenty of money when USC gets their tails smacked tonight. Listen, it's a simple thing. If you're in or you're out, we'll call it that.
Someone in the chat.
Ford.
Nick.
Nick's gonna get offered this opportunity too. He's had to sit through this pain. Okay, put the wheel of lunch up there. The chat gets it. I'll tell you what, chat. Here's the deal. Do me a favor right now. I'm not even joking when I say
We're
this.
not gonna go through all 11 rounds.
No. We might.
We might. Depends on when
Depends
the
on when the wheel.
no lunch or
Chat,
Red
you see the
Fest.
wheel of lunch. You got like probably 2 minutes to figure this out, chat. You put in there if you're willing to lose. And it's not even losing. You're willing to spend 300 and we'll call it's going to be more than that. We're going to call it 450 at this point because the Texas game is a whole new deal. That's like that might be for the Big 12 championship. $450 of your own money to go on this trip.
Tickets to that are only $70.
Okay, well, when is it? When's the date?
It's a Monday, February 6th.
Okay, that's it. That's the one we're doing.
That would have to be it.
Okay, that's the one we're doing. February 6th. You're in or you're out. I better see in or not, nothing. If you're out, don't even worry about putting it in the chat.
Oh, all right. We're going to Genus. There it is. Sick.
Okay, we won.
All right.
All right, Nick, you get to go to Gina's, which is it's a good spot. Let's give the chat like I'm not giving much longer because every one that pops in is another chance for me to lose money. Man, chat is dead too. Is the chat? behind?
Chat's been grinding with us for 3 hours.
Dude, they have. I feel like nobody wants to.
I'd love to. I'm going to have to reevaluate this one.
So just to clarify, we would be
we go.
going
Mr. Clarification.
Monday. So we're probably like leaving Sunday night or something like that.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, we're not leaving Sunday night. I'm not driving through the night.
Isn't that Super Bowl?
Oh, wait. Yeah, that is.
Well then.
No. That's the bye week.
No, that's the bye
bye
week.
That's
It's
the bye
even-
week?
Yeah.
So
That's the Pro Bowl or whatever it is.
that's a perfect time.
Yeah.
What
they-
about the
I got
shows?
people. All right, Jordan. Jordan said he'd do it.
Checking my son's hockey schedule. I love it.
I can't wait for us to go down there and drop a $3,000 money line bet on Utah. Do not get that mixed up.
All right, let's go to lunch. Talk this over.
All right, I got. I'll tell you what. If you want to do it, you're gonna have to tweet. You're gonna have to tweet Chatterbox Sports or me, whatever. Tweet one of us, and you can't be doing it after the game. You got the deadline is.
You got to show receipts.
The deadline has to be by 2:00. We need to know your answer. We're going to lunch. Thank you for watching the box lunch, Nick Kirby. Hopefully we can do some more stuff with Nick soon. We'll figure some of that stuff out. But nonetheless, we appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend. Go Utes, baby.